It's just a great ability to go out there, value add, spike the equity, and create, massive cash flow in your portfolio.
If you're investing, investors will.
The podcast for all things real estate investing.
So, welcome back to another episode of Investor One-on-One, the podcast where we showcase the leading innovators changing real estate across the country. Today's guest is transforming the way San Diego builds wealth. He's the visionary behind the ADU Mastermind, a licensed builder with 2 decades of hands-on construction experience, bringing real-world expertise to one of California's hottest markets. Through his elite mastermind, he's helping hundreds of families tap into the power of ADUs to create lasting wealth and multi-generational stability. Kevin Trinh, welcome to the show. Excited to have you on, man.
Thank you, brother. Thanks for having me on, man.
It's great having you. And yeah, let's just start with your story. How did you begin? How did you get into real estate and what you do now?
Yeah, so a little bit of my background. I mean, I am a pre-med student, went to college for becoming a doctor. Of course, that didn't pan out so well. I've been in the construction industry for 20 years now. I'm 37, so I've been doing it, in my early days just to make side money, and then slowly fell in love with construction. Then, of course, seeing the growth of the industry, I mean, I definitely thought that it would be nice to just grow that business instead of going to med school. So I went back, got my MBA, and then eventually, fell deeper into the construction industry. So I've been doing that. The last 6 years has been interesting because I started, doing real estate investing. But I also have been doing a lot of ADU construction built for a lot of clients out here in San Diego because of the growth and the revolution of the ADU. So I've been doing that for the last 6, 7 years, and just been interesting to see the growth of it and the trajectory where this is heading towards. So I've been doing more of my own projects at the current moment where we buy entitled them and then of course build them out for myself to hold on as creating portfolio. So yeah, that's what I'm doing right now.
For sure. I grew up in California and I lived in Seattle the past year before
Okay.
moving to Miami. And from what I saw, ADUs are huge, especially in
Oh
those two
yeah.
states. Everyone's doing it. But for those that are unfamiliar, what makes ADUs a compelling investment opportunity in today's market?
Well, in today's market, it's very hard to find deals or properties or real estate investments where you can create value off the bat. And then, of course, cash on cash return, and then, creating massive cash flow income passively. So, the big plays are more in the Midwest right now, where people are buying like huge cash flow properties. If you're trying to do it in the West Coast or East Coast, like Florida or San Diego, where it's dense and price points are higher, or even Seattle, you would see that it's very difficult to do that. Cash flow will be very minimal, and you might even lose money if you were just doing the old Burr model, or if you were just buying a property and just fix and flipping it. ADU, stands for accessory dwelling unit, gives people the ability to buy these single family home, basic single family zoning, and adding units on there. Right. And in San Diego specifically, it's very aggressive where we're able to buy a piece of property, and depending on the square footage of the lot, we're able to maximize the unit at. It's just a great ability to go out there, value add, spike the equity, and create, massive cash flow in your portfolio.
I couldn't agree more. And when it comes to ADUs, there's different types. Do you prefer detached, attached, or garage conversion?
I prefer all. It just depends on the property, bro. A lot of people are very specific in what they like to do. I like to keep the overview of the property a little bit more broad and then see how I can potentially maximize the outcome of that single, lot. So in sense of creating value, detached would give you better value at the end because you're creating something that's separate than the main house. But if you're just looking to create units to do cash flow, then sometimes attached and garage conversions are fine, right?
So you're in San Diego and we work with more than 2,000 investors. And I'm telling you,
Mhm.
right now, the hottest market for us is San Diego.
Yeah.
Why do you think that's the case?
It's density, bro. In San Diego, you're running out of place to build. Below us, we got Mexico. To the west, you got the ocean. To the east are the mountains. And then to the north, it's pretty much OCLA. So you're running out of space to build, and, the density is growing. And it's just San Diego is such a beautiful city. Everyone wants to come here. So you see a lot of growth in the last 2, 3 years of people who were, affected by COVID. And instead of living and working in San Francisco, which is super expensive up there, they would rather come down to San Diego to live and still be able to work remotely. The amount of people coming in is just growing, and the amount of housing is just not there to give supply for that demand. And so another thing is just the affordability side of things, right? A lot of people want to live here, but price has gone up, 15, 20% in the last few years. So building these ADUs give the ability to create the affordability to a lot of people that's still living here.
I agree. That's a very interesting take. And,
Yeah.
you've done this for a while and you do different things in this industry. Can you walk us through one of your deals and share some numbers with us, starting
Yeah,
with
sure.
high?
I have
Mhm.
multiple properties that we're working on. Yeah, I can share with you one of them right now. It's to add
Perfect.
6 unit. We bought this property for 1,050,000. It came with shovel ready plans, so that's the reason why it was priced a little higher. But it saved us the time of going through entitlement process of 6 to 8 months, and then holding on to the property for that 8 months. So we were able to acquire for 1,050,000, jump into construction right away. And right now, once we're done, that property will yield us about a million, 1.5 million in equity, right? Because it's going to cost us about 1.2 million to build these out, the 6 unit. And so at the end of the day, we'll be able to create a 7 unit multiplex just from a single family property. Crazy, right? But you still have to go through the ground construction. You still have to go through all that play, but there's nothing out there that's going to give you that kind of return within 12-month time frame, then massively cash flowing off these property immediately. So once we're done with this deal, we're probably going to cash flow net about 10,000 a month. Yeah.
That's
That's not
amazing.
one deal. Yeah.
Wow. And for someone that's starting with limited capital and wants to make it to this numbers, what steps would you recommend to begin in real estate investing?
I would say that if you were someone new into real estate investing and you only have limited funds to start off with, definitely just get either into a fix and flip deal, FHA or house hacking, and then learn from that experience before you even approach the ADU play. Because ADU is a little bit more experience orientated, meaning that you got to understand how to truly exit out a property or to build something from ground up. It does require a little bit more experience, but going through the idea of owning a property and then going through a fix and flip will give you a lot of experience so that you can start tackling at least a 180U build, right? Instead of me doing six.
And for investors looking to raise more capital, do you have any advice for that?
Raising capital is tricky, man, because it depends on how the economy is doing, the market, how risk taking these investors want to, diversify their money. I would say that if it's at the current moment, definitely look into going out and networking with certain groups that are doing real estate investing, because then they can articulate the deal, they can understand what's going on, and they would be more enticed to jump into a deal or invest with you, right? Versus just randomly going to different capital raising events and not knowing if the investors are interested or not.
For sure. And Kevin, if you had to start right now, all over in San Diego with $10,000, what would your first 90 days look like?
Wow, $10,000? Huh. If I had to start all over with just $10,000 in San Diego, I would probably go join a mastermind program with that 10,000 because for sure 10,000 is not going to get you much in San Diego, right? And you can't really start real estate investing with just 10,000. I mean, you can, but it's just very difficult, right? There's other programs like sub-twos and stuff like that where you can get into properties and stuff like that. But I just think that getting into a mastermind program for 10,000, I think you'll learn a lot more. You're surrounded yourself with a lot more people who's, successful in that market already. And then your connection is going to be returning to you tenfolds on that 10,000. So I would go join a mastermind program first, learn, and then maybe build the relationship in that mastermind program. And hopefully you'll find an investor in there. So who knows?
Sure.
Yeah.
And do you see in the next coming years, what trends do you see for that, some trends that investors can take with them from this conversation?
I would say that ADU revolution is definitely a big trend right now. Start seeing it more in cities like New York, New Jersey, Florida, and Texas and Arizona. So it's definitely growing. Definitely that's a big trend to watch out for. I would also say that trends that haven't died yet are the Burr model. I think that people still need to, utilize that Burr method heavily into real estate investing. So those are the two trends that I think you should definitely stick to. I don't think that's going any away anytime soon. And ADU revolution is just gonna keep growing, bro.
Sure. And following up to our last question, if you could share one piece of advice or a quote that's had the biggest impact on your success as an investor, what would it be and why?
For me, the biggest thing is I would say that, and this applies both to entrepreneurship and real estate investing. And it was on one of my posts recently that I posted out on social. But I think one of the biggest thing I learned is that a lot of times we go into entrepreneurship and real estate investing and we don't expect to fail, but failure and getting hit is something that you need to expect it to happen. If you don't expect it to happen, then you're just living in la la land. Because in reality, a lot of the people that I've spoken to, especially the one who's super successful, they failed more times than I have, which is crazy because I failed a lot. And every single mistake, I'll learn from it and I improve on that. And then I go back to drawing board and then I make improvements and then I keep going at it. These guys are doing it day in, day out. They make mistakes maybe two, three times a day on certain things. So I think that understanding that failure comes with a heavy, heavy smack in the face, but dude, it's needed, dude. Because once you get that, that's how you're gonna get to the next level.
For sure. I feel like every failure comes with its own lesson, for the
Oh
next
yeah,
step.
that's right.
So I love that, man. Kevin, thank you so much for sharing your insights and
Yeah.
experiences with us today. It's been a pleasure having you on Investor One-on-One. If our investors want to connect with you and find you, how can they?
You can follow me on Instagram, Kevin.Trinh 888, three eights right there. So definitely follow me. DM me if you ever have any questions. I'm here to help. And I love to see other people win.
Sure. And to everyone watching, thank you for tuning in. Stay connected for more interviews with the nation's top investors. Thank you, Kevin.